Hello everyone, John AG here. Welcome back to my channel, Aurex. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. In this channel, you will find the real information, real market updates that everyone cannot tell you. So please subscribe to this channel, and I love you all of my subscribers for your support. And please watch this video till the very end because YouTube will not push my videos to more people. Today is May 30th, 2026. I want you to burn this date into your memory. I want you to remember where you were, what you were doing, and what decisions you made in this exact moment. The window of opportunity to protect your family, your wealth, and your future is slamming shut. If you own silver or if you are contemplating buying silver, you have just weeks to prepare for the most violent repricing event in modern financial history. This is not a drill. This is not fear-mongering designed to capture views. This is the cold, undeniable mathematical reality of a global system that has run out of runway, run out of trust, and most importantly, run out of physical metal. Look out your window. People are going to work, buying their groceries, paying their bills, and living under the illusion that the financial system is sound. They believe the digital numbers flickering on their banking apps represent true purchasing power. They suffer from normalcy bias, the fatal psychological assumption that because the sun rose yesterday, the system will not collapse tomorrow. We are taught from a very young age to trust the currency, to trust the central banks, to believe that the men and women in tailored suits managing our monetary policy have everything under control. But you and I know better. We saw the mask slip. We saw what happened just a few months ago in January 2026. We watched the silver market go parabolic. We watched it tear through decades of historical resistance, shattering the psychological $100 barrier and surging to an astonishing $120.56 per ounce. For a brief, terrifying moment, the financial manipulators lost absolute control. The paper markets panicked, lease rates skyrocketed, and the physical scarcity was violently exposed to the world. It eclipsed the legendary Hunt Brothers spike of 1980. It was a tremor that shook the foundations of the London Bullion Market Association and the COMEX in New York. The vaults were bleeding, and the industrial giants who rely on this metal were staring into the abyss of an empty supply chain. And then, right on cue, came the orchestrated pullback. As of today, silver has retreated back into the $80 range. The mainstream financial media is celebrating. The talking heads on television are telling the masses that the bubble has popped, that the anomaly is over, and that it is safe to go back to sleep. They want you to believe that the system has corrected itself and that fiat currency is still the reigning king of the world. Do not fall for the trap. This pullback is not a defeat, it is a structural consolidation. It is the deep breath before the tsunami. The institutions, the central banks, and the industrial giants are using this engineered dip to quietly vacuum up every available ounce of physical silver left on the planet. They are trying to shake you out of your position. They want you demoralized. They want you to sell your physical metal back into the market so they can cover their own catastrophic shortfalls. You have weeks, perhaps less, before the physical market completely and permanently disconnects from the paper price. Let us leave emotion aside for a moment and look purely at the math. The global silver market is currently in its sixth consecutive year of a structural supply deficit. According to the latest uncompromising data from the Silver Institute and Metals Focus, 2026 is projecting a staggering shortfall of over 46 million ounces. Understand that this is not an anomaly caused by a temporary supply chain glitch. It is a permanent condition. Since the deficit aggressively began in 2021, over 760 million ounces of above-ground silver have been completely drained from the market. That is metal that has been taken out of wholesale vaults and consumed by industry. It is gone, and it is never coming back. The fundamental problem is that the earth is tapped out. We cannot simply print silver the way the Federal Reserve prints dollars. Over 70% of silver is mined as a byproduct of base metals like copper, lead, and zinc. This creates a terrifying dynamic for the supply chain. When the global macroeconomy slows down, as it is doing right now under the weight of crushing sovereign debt, base metal mining naturally contracts. When copper and zinc mines shut down or scale back operations, silver supply plummets right alongside them, even if the price of silver is skyrocketing. Furthermore, the ore grades, the amount of actual silver found in a ton of rock, are declining globally. The silver being pulled from the earth today requires moving exponentially more dirt, using exponentially more diesel fuel than it did a decade ago. The easy, high-grade silver has already been mined. Major producing countries like Mexico and Peru are facing massive headwinds, from exhausted veins to geopolitical unrest and labor strikes. There is a painfully thin pipeline of new mining projects, and in today's heavily regulated environment, it takes a decade and billions of dollars to bring a new mine online. In standard economics, there is a fundamental rule. High prices cure high prices by incentivizing more production. But because silver is primarily a byproduct, a massive price surge cannot trigger an immediate wave of new supply. The supply is fundamentally inelastic. The miners cannot simply flip a switch and flood the market to meet demand. Every single day, the world uses millions of ounces more than it digs out of the ground. We have been bridging this massive, widening gap by draining global stockpiles. But those stockpiles are not infinite, and the bottom of the barrel is now clearly visible to anyone paying attention. Why is this deficit accelerating at such a terrifying pace? Because silver is the most electrically and thermally conductive metal on the periodic table. It reflects light better than any other element. It is the uncompromising, irreplaceable lifeblood of the 21st century. While gold is hoarded by central banks and sits lazily in subterranean vaults, silver puts on a hard hat and goes to work. And right now, 3 massive industrial leviathans are devouring the world's silver supply at a rate that the mining sector simply cannot match. The first leviathan is the artificial intelligence revolution. You hear about AI every single day on the news. The exponential growth of data centers, deep machine learning, and advanced computing is reshaping the very fabric of humanity. But these complex algorithms do not run on thin air. They require massive, heavily energy-intensive hardware. Global data center computing capacity has exploded over the last 20 years. Every high-efficiency semiconductor, every server connection, every piece of critical circuitry required to handle the extreme heat and electricity generated by AI computations requires silver. There is absolutely no substitute. If you try to replace silver with copper or aluminum, the microchips melt. Without silver, the AI revolution violently halts. The second leviathan is the global green energy transition, which has become a literal black hole for silver. The photovoltaic solar industry is aggressively shifting from older PERC solar panels to next-generation N-type batteries, specifically the highly advanced TOPCon and HJT cells. Why does this matter to you as an investor? Because these new, highly efficient solar panels require vastly more silver per unit to manufacture. An older panel from 5 years ago might have used 10 milligrams of silver per watt. The new HJT panels demand upwards of 22 milligrams. The governments of the world are currently attempting to blanket the Earth in solar panels to meet aggressive climate goals, and in doing so, they are permanently consuming the physical silver supply. The third leviathan encompasses electric vehicles and modern military defense systems. An electric vehicle uses 2 to 3 times more silver than a traditional internal combustion engine. From the high-voltage battery management systems to the intricate autonomous driving sensors, silver is essential for conductivity and safety. Furthermore, look at the state of the world. Global conflicts are escalating, and modern military equipment, precision-guided missiles, low Earth orbit satellites, advanced radar systems, and autonomous drones are packed with silver. Here is the most critical point that the mainstream financial analysts completely ignore. Industrial silver is destroyed. When an investor buys a 1-ounce gold coin, it stays a gold coin. It can be sold, melted down, reminted, and resold for centuries. It remains part of the above-ground supply. But the silver that goes into a solar panel on a rooftop, the silver pasted onto a microchip inside an electric vehicle, or the silver inside the guidance system of a Tomahawk missile, is gone forever. It is consumed in quantities too microscopic to profitably recycle. Millions upon millions of ounces are being thrown into landfills or blown up in combat zones every single year, permanently removed from the human supply chain. If physical silver is truly this scarce, you might be asking yourself why the price isn't already sitting at $300 an ounce. This brings us to the great fraud of our modern era. When you look at the ticker on your screen, you are not looking at the price of physical silver, you are looking at the price of a paper derivative of silver. The markets operated by the COMEX and the LBMA function on a massive fractional reserve system. For every 1 ounce of real physical silver actually sitting in a vault, there are dozens, sometimes hundreds, of paper claims traded on the digital screens by major banking institutions. It is an elaborate game of musical chairs orchestrated by the financial elite. They use naked short selling, high-frequency trading algorithms, and spoofing to suppress the price, keeping the masses completely blind to the true scarcity of the physical metal. They create an illusion of infinite liquidity, but that paper facade is cracking under the pressure of reality. In late 2025 and early 2026, we witnessed an unprecedented liquidity squeeze that terrified the banking establishment. Physical inventories dropped so sharply that the spot price of silver actually traded above the futures price, a rare and highly signaling condition known as backwardation. Wholesale lease rates spiked toward 39%. The industrial users, the massive solar manufacturers in Asia, the tech giants in Silicon Valley, the defense contractors in Washington, panicked. They realized that holding a piece of paper promising silver at some future date does not keep a factory running today. They demanded immediate physical delivery, and the vaults began to hemorrhage metal at a historic rate. The rapid stabilization of prices around the $80 mark that we are seeing today is not a sign of a healthy, functioning market. It is the absolute floor set by desperate, uncompromising industrial demand. The paper manipulators are trapped in a corner of their own making. If they push the paper price down too far to trigger technical sell-offs, the industrial giants will simply step in and buy every physical ounce in existence on the cheap. The lever they have used to control the market for 40 years has finally broken. We are also living in an era of unprecedented geopolitical instability, and it is pouring gasoline on the silver fire. Look at the macroeconomic nightmare of May 2026. The United States federal debt has blown past 120% of its gross domestic product. Annual fiscal deficits are running at 6% to 7% of GDP during what is ostensibly peacetime. The government is borrowing trillions of dollars just to pay the interest on the debt they already owe. Because of this inescapable debt spiral, inflation is no longer a temporary phenomenon caused by supply chain bottlenecks. It is a structural necessity. Governments must aggressively devalue their currencies to inflate away their insurmountable debts. They are trapped in a vicious cycle of money printing that is destroying the purchasing power of the middle class. Concurrently, the aggressive weaponization of the US dollar over the last 5 years has triggered a mass exodus from the Western financial system. The BRICS nations and the broader global South are rapidly decoupling, trading in local currencies and hoarding hard assets. In response to this fracture, we are witnessing the terrifying rise of resource nationalism. Governments are waking up to the reality that whoever holds the critical minerals controls the future of technology, energy, and warfare. Sovereign nations are launching multi-billion-dollar strategic metal reserve initiatives aimed at stockpiling critical materials. When governments begin hoarding assets for national security, the free market ceases to exist. They will sweep the open market clean of physical supply, and they will not care what price they have to pay to secure it. When central banks hoard gold to protect their sovereign wealth, where does the everyday citizen turn to protect theirs? They turn to the poor man's gold. They turn to silver. To truly grasp the explosive, life-changing upside potential of silver right now, we must look at the historical gold-to-silver ratio. For thousands of years of human history, stretching back to the Roman Empire, this ratio sat at roughly 15 to 1. That is the ratio at which these two metals naturally come out of the Earth's crust. It is a geological constant. In recent years, the manipulators on Wall Street pushed this ratio to absurd, mathematically unjustifiable extremes, sometimes reaching 90 to 1 or even crossing the 100 to 1 mark. This extreme distortion made silver the single most undervalued physical asset on the face of the Earth. Today, we are finally seeing that ratio violently compress. During the January 2026 spike, the ratio compressed into the mid-50s, causing widespread panic among institutional short sellers. Major institutional banks, who have historically been the biggest manipulators, are finally waking up to the math they can no longer suppress. Analysts are now openly modeling upside targets of $135 to over $300 an ounce, simply based on the ratio normalizing back toward its historical average. And remember, this mathematical normalization is happening while gold itself is skyrocketing into uncharted territory. If gold moves to $5,000 an ounce as sovereign wealth funds panic buy, and the ratio simply returns to a conservative 30 to 1, you are looking at silver well over $160. If it returns to its geological 15 to 1 average, the price of silver will surpass $300. This is a coiled spring that has been artificially compressed for decades. When it fully releases, the sheer velocity of the upward move will leave the average, unprepared investor completely paralyzed on the sidelines. Now, I want to step away from the charts, the algorithms, the mining deficits, and the macroeconomic data. I want to talk to you, the human being watching this video right now. Finance is not just about numbers flashing red and green on a computer screen. It is about your life, your family, your sweat, and your tears. I want you to think deeply about what a fiat dollar bill actually represents. When you wake up early, leave your family, and go to work for 40, 50, or 60 hours a week, you are trading the most precious, irreplaceable asset you possess in this universe, your time. You are trading your life energy for a unit of currency, trusting that this currency will hold its value so you can feed your family, heat your home, and eventually retire with dignity. When the government prints trillions of dollars out of thin air to fund endless wars and bail out corrupt banking institutions, they are not creating wealth. They are stealing your time. They are reaching invisibly into your bank account, your pension, and your hard-earned savings and siphoning away your purchasing power. Inflation is not a mysterious economic weather event that just happens by accident. It is a silent, regressive, deliberate tax on the working class. It is the outright theft of your life's labor. Striving to save your wealth in a fiat currency system is like trying to carry water across a desert in a bucket full of holes. It is financial suicide. Every day you leave your wealth in cash, you are growing poorer. This is exactly why silver is not merely an investment to be traded for a quick profit. It is a lifeboat. It is an impenetrable shield against a corrupt system designed to bleed you dry. Silver is physical labor, crystallized. It takes thousands of gallons of diesel fuel, massive heavy machinery, intense human sweat, and billions of dollars of capital investment to locate, extract, refine, and mint a single ounce of silver from deep within the earth. It represents real, undeniable work. It cannot be printed into existence by a corrupt politician looking to win an election. It cannot be diluted by a central bank chairman pressing a button on a keyboard. It has survived the collapse of the Roman Empire, the hyperinflation of the Weimar Republic, the fall of the Soviet Union, and every single fiat currency experiment in the 5,000-year history of human civilization. Every fiat currency eventually returns to its intrinsic value of zero, but physical silver has never defaulted. When you hold a physical silver coin in the palm of your hand, you hold absolute autonomy. You hold freedom. You hold true independence from a parasitic financial system that views you and your family as nothing more than collateral damage in their grand economic experiments. You hold an asset with no counterparty risk. If the power grid goes down, if the banking apps freeze, if the stock market halts trading, the ounce of silver in your hand still holds unparalleled global value. My friends, we are completely out of time. The convergence of a severe 6-year structural mining deficit, insatiable and uncompromising technological demand, massive geopolitical fracture, and a collapsing fiat currency system has created a perfect storm. The forces at play are larger than any government and larger than any central bank. The engineered price pullback we are seeing right now in the $80 range is a gift. It is a temporary, orchestrated optical illusion designed to test your conviction and separate the weak hands from their metal. The smart money, the central banks, and the industrial giants know exactly what is coming. They are aggressively preparing behind closed doors. They are stacking physical metal while telling you on television that everything is fine. In the coming weeks and months, we will reach the ultimate tipping point. The massive industrial users will look at the dwindling COMEX inventories and realize the math does not work. They will begin to panic hoard to ensure their multi-billion-dollar factories do not shut down. The paper market will suffer an absolute, catastrophic failure to deliver. When that dam finally breaks, the price of silver will not just rise steadily, it will teleport. You will wake up one morning, log onto your favorite online bullion dealer, and you will not be able to buy metal at any price. The out-of-stock signs will flash across the internet. The premiums for physical metal will completely and permanently decouple from the manipulated spot price on the screen. If you do not hold it, you do not own it. Do not trust your future to paper promises. Do not trust your family's security to a banking system that has proven time and time again that it will sacrifice the working class to save itself. Take control of your financial destiny today. Convert your dying, depreciating fiat currency into real, tangible, indestructible wealth while the window of opportunity is still cracked open. You have been warned. The mathematical data is absolute. The historical precedent is crystal clear. The future belongs entirely to those who have the courage to see the truth and the conviction to prepare today. Thank you for watching Aurex. If this message resonated with you, if you truly understand the extreme gravity of the times we are living in, please share this video with everyone you care about. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and fortify your life against the coming storm. I am John A.G. Stay vigilant, stay incredibly strong, and I will see you in the next update.